Hello and welcome to The Wilderness of Creativity, a platform for creatives and aspiring entrepreneurs to share their stories of survival. I'm your host, Lucy, and I'm so excited to share this creative journey with you. Working full-time and raising a small human has caused me to lose track and wander off-piste on several occasions, but I followed the signs and here we are, surviving the wild and feeling more connected and inspired than ever before. Whether you're a seasoned adventurer or just starting out, I'm here to cheer you on as you navigate this journey. Together, we will uncover practical tips and strategies for cultivating creativity, explore different ways of prioritising our creative energy when there are people to please and deadlines to meet. And we'll also discuss how we can foster a mindset that inspires connection, innovation and play in our daily lives. Tune in every month to hear how my guests find focus in a world that never stops buzzing and discover what it really means to take the road less travelled. Subscribe now to listen to The Wilderness of Creativity and remember to like, share and leave a review to show your support. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, so come and join in with our conversations. And that's it. Welcome to your next adventure. Welcome to the first of the summer series with Liverpool-based artist and educator David Washington. In this episode, we explore the transformative power of creativity as David shares his deeply personal journey through the wilderness. From navigating the loss of his dad to finding solace in his art, David's story is a testament to the healing power of self-expression. David also reflects on his first experiences as a young artist, including the unwavering support and nurturing he received from his family, and how this continues to inspire him and the way he embraces creativity with his own children. First things first, I thought we would start with the You Got This cards.
Okay.
And I'm doing this with all of my guests because it kind of it breaks the ice, but also it's actually really nice to talk about what comes up on the card. And I know you like a little bit of this.
I do.
So I'm going to shuffle the cards and then all you're going to do is tell me when to stop and then we'll talk about the card.
Okie doke. Can we stop?
Yeah. The card that's come up for you is Every Day I Learn, I Improve.
Oh, that's true.
What are you learning and what are you improving on at the moment, do you think?
Oh, I'm improving on how to be a better dad, I suppose, is my top one. I've got to say better husband, but that's not really my focus.
He may listen to this, so we have to say that.
Yeah, better husband. And I suppose educator.
How's it going now? Because you've been in your new job for a little while now, haven't you?
I am loving it.
Are you?
It's like a breath of fresh air, yeah.
So talk a little bit about what you do then.
So I'm design technology teacher at a secondary high school. I've been doing that for 18 years, if you can believe that. That's horrific to me. I've been doing that for 18 years.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah.
You must have seen some things in those 18 years.
Absolutely. Gone through a lot. I was working in a school previously that I just didn't enjoy at all. And I was ready for leaving education sector altogether and just finding another job role somewhere else. And I didn't really care what it was. It was that desperate. I was like, I just can't continue doing it anymore. And I've changed schools to this lovely school with a completely different culture and completely different feel about it. And I've just started to love it again from the very first day I started working there. It's crazy how you can just be in a place that's just wrong.
It just feels wrong.
And you know that it's wrong. And you stay for those many years. I was there for 7 years. And I knew throughout the whole of those 7 years that I didn't want to be there. How crazy. But you just keep doing it.
Why do we stay in places that squash us?
No idea.
I think as teachers, we feel trapped sometimes.
I think we're taught to just cope and that is it. You just have to cope with it all of the time. And the underlying message is in teaching, you know, yeah, you can be having a bad time or you can be having this, but you'll get through it, and you just keep going step by step through it. And I think it's the way that the year is sort of engineered as well. It spins you through the cycle of the year, and you just get through to the promise of the summer, and then you find yourself starting again and going again. So
Yeah.
I genuinely think if they got rid of half terms, there wouldn't be any teachers. I think that promise of that week or those 2 weeks where you just need to have utter rest, if that was gone, I think you'd see even more people leaving education than now.
Well, there's so many people leaving teaching at the moment, isn't there? For lots of different reasons. I think work-life balance is one thing, and I think the half terms for me is actually a really good opportunity for me to go back to being creative. I don't know about you, but I
Yes.
find that during that week or those 2 weeks or even the summer holidays, I get back to me.
Hmm.
Are you working on anything this half term, or are you kind of gearing up towards the summer to do a big project?
Gearing towards the summer. I've got to do something soon because I've got an exhibition coming up in Waterloo, and I have
Oh,
nothing.
it's brilliant.
So, you know, there's that driving force where you've signed up for something that you haven't done. So I'm going to be doing something for that.
So, how many pieces of work do you need to create?
Normally I would do about 10 to 12, but now I'm going to do about 3. And we'll leave it at that, I think. 3 is a good, healthy number.
Three is a good number. What style will they be? Will they be your usual style, or are you kind of exploring other avenues at the moment with your art?
I am. It's a little bit of both. So I'm trying to mix two styles. So I was really into like the mythical, lots of color kind of, and paint drops and all of that kind of a thing in my art. And then I moved away to like more sort of traditional kind of looking at how to paint the human form and things. So I'm going to try and bring those together to make like a fusion of the two.
I can't draw. I will say this. I've got that mug. Sorry. I can't draw, and I think that belief comes from school.
Hmm.
Um, but where did you start exploring art? Was it in school, or was it after? Was it at university? Like, where did your journey start?
I mean, it started with my family, I think, like with my nana. Like she was really interested in the things that I would draw, even though they were terrible, you know. And she really fed that passion in me of like, oh, I've got to draw something because I'm going to Nan's on Saturday, so she will want to see something that I've done.
Oh, that's
So I
lovely.
would paint something or do something in that respect. Um, and then there was just like a fascination for that because once you start to get attention as a kid for that kind of a thing, you just do it more and more, don't you? And then I started to look into different styles of paintings and what was out there. And my auntie was dating her girlfriend of the time when I was really young, and she was very artistic, and she would paint on the walls, do murals, and she would like do lots of sketches, and I would make her sit down with me, and she would draw in front of me, and I thought that was the most magical thing that you could do because it was so far from what I could do, and she was like perfect with these like sketches, and it was like magic. So I was like, I want to learn that. So it was a combination of the two, I think.
Mm. And I've noticed as well that you're continuing that tradition with your family now.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah. We know that anyone can express themselves through any sort of creative medium, you know, and I think the more you practice something, the better it's going to be, you know. And so I want to make sure that my kids have had that same experience, I suppose, that I had of taking some creativity and in, you know, the work that you do.
Do you sit with them and draw with them, or do you kind of let them go off on their own journey and let them explore whatever they want to explore?
That second option sounds really nice, but I sit with them and I lay out the paints. I say, this is what we're going to try and do. So, yeah. I mean, they do have some sort of like things where they go off in their own room and they'll do something and they'll bring it back to me and they'll say, oh, what do you think of this? You know? But for doing the paintings, it's a big ordeal of getting things out, making sure things aren't messy.
Oh, I know. I'm the same with my little one. I put all the paper out, the pens, the colours, the paints. I put newspaper down. It just, it's messy, but it's so important to do. And I think
It
as
is.
adults, we try and control the mess, don't we?
Oh, yeah. When I was first doing like paintings with Tyler, when he was about 4 years old, he would paint on his hands a lot, which would frustrate me no end, because I was like, why are we doing this? And he would do that, and then he would like stamp them all over. And he was making some gorgeous like little things to remember, you know, like little pieces of art. But I was just like, it was so messy. And then I think when we get older, you sort of try and tie things up as neatly as you can. And I know that in the art that I'm producing now, I need to be a lot more free and a lot more expressive and not be so rigid a lot of the time. And to have some of that playfulness in my art that you have in the beginning, and then you slowly, it sort of becomes more and more like serious.
Where does that come from, do you think?
I think it's a drive for wanting to get better. So you start to take your hobby a lot more seriously, or your creative outlet a lot more seriously. And I just have to be very aware that if it starts to be not fun and quite stressful, and there is some stress in it, and that's a normal stress, like it's figuring things out, where does this colour go or whatever, that's fun stress. But if it starts to become quite agitative, then I just think, it's not for now. And you need to sort of get that freedom back.
I think recognising when you're in the flow of ideas and when you actually need to step away. So with creating your 3 artworks that you're going to exhibit, like how will you start the process? What does it look like once you're kind of in the workflow?
I wish I was someone who planned things meticulously. I'm not. I will sketch out an idea of something, and that idea will generally not really be very developed. It will be, that's the one that I'm going for. And it will go onto the the board or whatever it is that I'm going to be painting onto. And
there's a definite focus in the artwork, and then colour around the outside, different brush strokes. I mean, what would kind of go around the face or the form, the figure in the middle?
I've done 2 different approaches in the past. So the easiest approach that I find is I will flood it with a load of colour first, then I'll do the face afterwards, and then I'll figure out what the background is going to be. And it can sometimes be just things like flowers that I really like and enjoy painting, or it can be like a scene in the background, which is generally Glastonbury sort of related or something mystical. And I will add those features in afterwards. So that's the easiest way. The other way of doing it that I sometimes do is I'll just focus straight on the figure or the face, and then I will block in colours afterwards, which is a little bit more tricky, but it depends on if I just want to get started straight away.
When's the exhibition?
In July.
Okay.
So I've got time.
And you said Waterloo?
Yeah.
Is the exhibition part of a bigger event that's going on?
It's just an exhibition for local artists. So they, you apply to take part, and it's just a celebration of the talent that's locally in the area. So we have lots of people, from like Crosby, who will paint like the Iron Men there and things like that, and then display their work. And there's people who do prints. There's people who do digital artwork. It's a real mix of people.
Have you got a good sort of community of artists now around you then?
I've got creative people in my life, but I wouldn't say that I'm involved in the art scene in Liverpool. I think
Mm.
the art scene in Liverpool, there's like some very key figures in there, and they sort of dominate the greeting card kind of industry, the prints, those kinds of things. Um, but yeah, I just do my own little thing and I take part in exhibitions as and when they come up.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to work towards something and also to feel you can share your work somewhere.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Glastonbury.
hmm
So why Glastonbury? What's so special about that part of the world for you?
Oh, it's just a place where I feel really spiritual and like connected to the earth. And I think it stems back to lots of family holidays. That was the main focus when I was growing up. We would go there maybe once or twice a year, every year, and we've continued that tradition right the way through. It's just a place that I love, going to. It's got lots of happy memories for me. So
Mm.
I'll go there for like the spiritual feeling, but also it's the memories of like seeing like my nan go to the Chalice Well or my dad walking up the Tor. It's, those kinds of memories, very, very happy memories that I have as a kid that I like to revisit.
With your art, you can channel those memories and those emotions. Do you find that you can see messages in there in your art?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like the for me, like making art is quite a spiritual thing as well. If I can get it to be like that, that would be how I prefer. Sometimes I'm doing it just because of I want, to create something and I just want to practice, that's different. But sometimes I'll do like a piece of like work that's a little bit more spiritual for me, and I'll try and use more expressive brushstrokes and lots of symbolism in there, and I'll really think about what I'm trying to convey. So it's a bit more like a manifestation kind of a
Mm,
way of painting.
yeah. How did you find engaging with your art when you lost your dad? If you don't mind talking a little bit about that,
No, of
because
course.
for me, when I lost my dad, I found it really difficult to connect with my creative side.
hmm It was the opposite for me. It was very much the opposite. I dove headfirst into lots of creative things, and it was like, especially like music, that I was listening to. So I would have to paint when I was painting. I think the first thing that I painted after my dad had passed was a huge portrait of him, and that was really important to me, to try and to convey, because that's all I had on my mind. There wasn't anything else, So I painted my dad, and I painted him in Glastonbury with Glastonbury Tour in the background, with his favourite flowers and things like that. And I would just paint, and I would listen to my dad's favourite music when I was doing it, just over and over again. Listen to like his sort of playlist of songs, um, and then you could slowly see him just emerging in front of me, and it was really, really a lovely experience. It was really sad, having to do it, especially the more it started to look like him, the more it made me
Mm.
upset. um, but it was, you know, it was a lovely experience. And I just think the only thing that I'd wished is that I hadn't painted him while he was still here. So I could have, he could have known that I'd painted him in that way.
Seeing him emerge.
Oh, it was lovely. It was like a really lovely experience. And that's the most special painting I've painted for me personally, because the experience of it was so emotional for me to do.
Where were you when you did the painting?
Just in the living room. So I was just
Mm.
sat there and that's where it stayed. And Anthony had a lot of patience with me because I was going through some hard times, and he was like, "That's fine. You just leave it where you need it to be." And I'd just work on it whenever I would, generally later on at night.
How long did it take you to finish?
Took about a week and a half. So
that doesn't seem any time at all to create a huge portrait.
No, I work really quickly though. Sometimes it can take a couple of hours, and then I've painted something. It just depends on how big, and because that was quite big, it took quite a little bit longer for me to do. But I was off work, and that's all I was doing during that time.
I just find it fascinating how art and being creative can help us process our emotions in a really positive way. Hello, Lucy here, and I hope you're enjoying this month's episode. I'd love for you to help spread the word. There are several ways that you can do this. One, you can subscribe to the podcast on your favourite platform, which will ensure that you never miss an episode. Two, you could share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues who might be inspired by the stories that we're sharing. Three, your reviews and ratings are incredibly important. They help new listeners discover the podcast, and they give me valuable feedback on how I can improve. So, if you've been enjoying today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review. Your support is what makes this possible. I'm on a mission to inspire, motivate, and empower fellow creatives to take the road less travelled, and I am so grateful to have you along on this journey with me. Okay, let's get back to the episode. What have you learned about yourself through your creative practice?
Sometimes I'll do 2 paintings or 3 paintings in a year, and then other times I'll do like 20. So I've got more patience with myself, I suppose. And attention to detail, I suppose, is something else that I've enjoyed about learning the painting process, is actually looking at things for a very long time and studying them and looking at, the lines in someone's face or the colours in a flower. And actually, it's like meditation, honestly, to me, when I'm looking at that and I'm trying to replicate it. And I'm thinking, how do these colours mix together? I've got no sort of art background in like the techniques of mixing colour or anything like that. I just make it up as I'm going along, and I just like create these colours, and I don't really know how I do it, but it's just like I pick like 3 or 4 colours, mix them together, and it's the colour that I want, so that's really sort of meditative to me, and I'm like studying it. So I think paying attention to detail as well.
So you didn't do your degree in art at all?
No, I did it in design technology, so product design it was. So it was furniture making. I didn't do painting even like when I was a kid. I did a little bit of painting, like just acrylics. But I didn't do oil painting until I think it was about 2016.
What spurred you on to try oil painting then?
I'd seen a YouTube video of somebody doing oil painting, and I just genuinely thought, I think I can do that, and I can give it a go. That's generally just how it started. I was like, just watching somebody else give it a go,
That's brilliant. Where can people find your work?
davidwashington.art on Instagram. That's my main page.
Obviously, we're coming up to the summer holidays now. Have you just done your GCSEs?
They've just done the NEA assessments. So
Okay.
We've still got our final GCSE to do, which isn't until towards the end of June. So their examination isn't quite yet, but they've all left now and they're all on study leave. So
Have you seen some interesting work coming through from your students?
that I love. See, this is the thing, because my job is quite creative anyway. And so I'll say throughout the year, I've only done a couple of different paintings, but I've worked with like 30 different students on trying to get them through a portfolio of work, where they're designing and creating different kinds of products. So I think my job also gives me a creative outlet as well. And I love seeing how they create things. you know.
Do you find that you sometimes run out of steam when you're working creatively all day, every day?
Well, it goes to school and it doesn't come home is the thing. So it will be like, especially during the really creative parts of the NEA where they're doing the designing, the developing, the model making, all those kinds of things. I generally won't touch a paintbrush during that time for myself because there is that sort of, you don't want to bring, that work home with you, or that creativity is just a little bit flat. It's ran out, throughout the day. So I think, I think having a balance is something that I've really learned, like having a place for me to paint that's already set up. Like we've got a little art studio up in the loft, like a converted loft that we have, and that's always set up. So if I want to just go, the easel is there, everything is there, I can just open up the pots and off I go. And I think that's something that I've learned. I've learned to like reduce my palette of colors to like maybe 3 or 4 different colors, so it's not such an effort like, to paint, and then pack up things away at the end, because that can put you off as well. The admin of getting everything sorted. And then generally it's the season. So during spring, I'll paint more. In the summer, then obviously I'll paint a lot more. And then it sort of wanes. I'm quite seasonal in that respect as well.
What are your long-term goals in terms of your art?
Just my honest to goodness goal is just to keep going and to keep doing it, because I absolutely love it. And there isn't like this vision of like, I want to be, selling my art across the country or anything like that. That actually doesn't interest me. I do paintings for myself, and if other people like them, then that's a bonus. Everything I'm sort of creating is just to give myself that pleasure and that time during that off time that I have away from stress. So it's just to keep going and to keep that as a mental health strategy, I think, more than anything.
Thank you to David for sharing his story with us today. Creativity really is at the heart of everything that we do, and it can help us to navigate such complex emotions such as grief. David, has learned to be patient with himself, to accept that, he might not share everything that he makes, but he's doing it for himself. And I think it's really important as a creative that you understand and acknowledge your why. Why are you creating? Maybe take this time to really reflect on not only your practice and your process of creating, but really think about why you're doing something. As always, thank you for listening. Stay wild. A free way to support the wilderness of creativity is by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Head over to Apple Podcasts now. Thanks for listening.